What happens when a woman dripping in diamonds and radiating entitlement calls a waitress trash inside one of New York's most exclusive restaurants? She's about to learn that the woman she just humiliated doesn't serve the food, she owns the place. The heavy oak doors of the Orient whispered open and shut like the pulse of the city itself. Inside, the golden light glowed over marble floors and white linen tables. The air carried a low hum of quiet money, the kind that spoke in deals, not decibels. To the guests, the Orient was perfection. To Naomi Bennett, it was personal. At 32, Naomi had built a hospitality empire from nothing. 12 restaurants, a dozen cities, every one her creation. But for the last 2 months, the Orient, her flagship, had started bleeding. Rising costs, staff resignations, declining reviews. Numbers didn't lie, and Naomi didn't delegate trust. So she came back home, undercover. Her name tag said Sophie. Her uniform was the same plain black as everyone else's. No jewelry, no makeup, her hair tied in a tired bun. To the world, she was invisible. To her staff, just another trainee. Table 6 needs water, Sophie, barked Alan Hughes, the general manager. He didn't look at her when he spoke. His tone was clipped, dismissive, a man too comfortable with power he didn't deserve. Yes. Mr. Hughes, Naomi replied, steady but soft. She crossed the floor, weaving between tables where laughter came easy and tips came heavy. Every detail of the restaurant, every napkin fold, every wine pour, had once been her pride. Now it felt foreign. Cold, Alan hovered near the maitre d', perfect in his tailored suit, smiling only for the wealthy. Naomi had already seen enough: overworked staff, ignored complaints, and a culture that reeked of fear. Then, the door opened, and the Orient shifted. A woman stepped inside like a storm wrapped in silk. Madison Vander, mid-40s, billionaire's wife and professional tyrant. Her crimson dress shimmered under the chandelier. Her diamonds could fund a small country. 2 women trailed behind her, pale echoes of her cruelty. She didn't walk. She arrived. The young hostess, Clara, straightened her uniform nervously. "Welcome to the Orient, ma'am. Do you have a reservation?" "Vander," Madison said flatly, dropping her white fur coat onto Clara's arms without looking at her. "We'll take that table." She pointed to the semicircular booth overlooking Central Park, the best seat in the house. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Vander," Clara said. "That table is reserved for Mr. Green. He's a regular—" "Do you know who my husband is?" Madison interrupted. Her voice was low, but it carried. "Robert Vander. He could buy this place before dessert. Move them." Alan appeared instantly. "Mrs. Vander?" "Always a pleasure." He turned to Clara, his smile dying. "You heard her." "Move the reservation." Naomi froze mid-step, gripping the water pitcher tighter. In that single exchange, she saw it all. The sickness she came to expose. And she had no idea yet. This night would become the most viral moment in New York's restaurant history. From the moment Madison Vander sat down, the air around her changed. Conversations dipped, the music felt quieter. Even the waitstaff moved differently. Cautious, guarded. Power like hers didn't need to be announced. It infected the room. Alan Hughes guided her to the coveted corner booth like an obedient servant. "Jessica will be your server tonight," he said, motioning toward the restaurant's senior waitress. "And Sophie here," he gestured lazily toward Naomi, "is our newest trainee. Please be patient with her." Madison's eyes slid over Naomi with surgical precision. "A trainee?" she said, feigning surprise. "How brave of you to experiment during dinner hours." She turned to her friends. "This should be entertaining." Naomi forced a polite smile. "Would you like sparkling or still water, ma'am?" "Sparkling, from Italy. And please, try not to trip," Madison said, waving a manicured hand. Her friends laughed. Brittle, sycophantic. The kind of laughter that belonged to people afraid to stop. Naomi turned away, her face unreadable. She moved toward the back counter where Jessica was trying to hide her frustration behind a customer service smile. "Don't let her get to you," Jessica murmured under her breath. "She does this every time she comes in." 3 visits, all comped by Alan. She hasn't paid for a meal in months. Naomi paused mid-pour. "Comped?" Jessica nodded. "He says it's good PR. I call it what it is, and bribery. He flirts with her husband's secretary, too. Guess it keeps the vendors dining here." Naomi's eyes narrowed. "Interesting." She returned to the table and poured Madison's water carefully. The bubbles caught the candlelight as they rose. Perfect, pristine. Madison lifted the glass to her lips, squinted at it, and sighed dramatically. "Is this flat?" she asked loudly. "It looks flat." Naomi stayed calm. "It was opened in front of you, ma'am." Madison's smile thinned. "And yet it looks lifeless. Like your attitude." "Bring another." "Yes, ma'am." Naomi went to fetch a new bottle. Behind her, she could hear Madison's voice rising. "Honestly, Alan, your standards are slipping. When Robert and I dined in Paris, even the interns knew how to pour properly. It's no wonder your ratings are dropping." Alan chuckled softly, the kind of laugh that crawled under Naomi's skin. "We'll address it, Mrs. Vander, you have my word." He shot Naomi a sharp look from across the room. "Move faster, Sophie." Naomi returned with the fresh bottle, opened it with perfect form, and poured again. Madison watched, bored but satisfied, until she caught Naomi's eyes for half a second. There was something there that unsettled her. Not fear, not anger. Something colder. Control. Naomi stepped back, silent, observant. She had her first piece of the puzzle, Alan's arrangement with the vendors, but she needed proof, and Alan was about to hand it to her himself. Because 15 minutes later, Naomi overheard something she was never meant to hear. A whispered conversation between Alan and Madison near the bar that could burn the Orient to the ground. The evening crowd had thickened, and the Orient pulsed with quiet luxury, soft jazz, low voices, and the clinking of silver. Yet beneath that polished calm, Naomi could feel the current shifting. Something was wrong, deeper than bad management or a rude guest. As Naomi cleared a nearby table, she saw Alan lean toward Madison's booth. His grin was too practiced, his body language too familiar. They weren't just manager and guest. There was history there. She kept her head low, wiping the table beside them, her eyes focused on the glass, but her ears tuned sharp. "Alan, you really shouldn't make me wait so long," Madison murmured, her tone half flirtation, half threat. "I told you." "Things take time," Alan said quietly. "If the invoices don't match, corporate starts asking questions." Madison smirked. "Then change the invoices. It's what you're good at." Naomi froze mid-wipe. Her pulse quickened. Alan chuckled nervously. "You know I've been covering for your dinners, but that's as far as I can go." "You'll go further if you want that promotion," Madison said sweetly, tapping her diamond nail against her wine glass. "Robert's company has connections. Imagine what we could do for you if you keep doing what you're told." Alan's voice dropped lower. "You mean keeping your husband's expenses off our books?" "Among other things," Madison said, her smile cold. "Let's just say, my husband likes his reputation spotless. And you like your paycheck fat." Naomi's stomach turned. She wasn't just looking at a toxic manager anymore. This was theft and blackmail. She straightened, pretending to rearrange cutlery, her face calm while her mind raced. Every comped dinner, every missing dollar, it all tied back to this table. Madison wasn't just manipulating Alan. She was using him to funnel her husband's private expenses through the restaurant's accounts. "Relax," Madison said smoothly, sipping her wine. "No one's ever going to find out. You'll keep your job, and I'll keep my reputation." "Everyone wins," Alan forced a laugh. "Everyone except the owner." Madison's smile sharpened. "Oh, please." "The owner's probably too busy sipping cocktails in Dubai to notice a few missing zeros." Naomi's jaw clenched. She could feel her pulse in her throat. For a brief second, Alan's eyes flicked around the room and landed right on her. "Hey, Sophie!" he barked suddenly, startling her. "Stop hovering. Go help in the back." Naomi met his gaze, calm and unreadable. "Yes, sir." She turned and walked toward the kitchen, but her mind was spinning. She finally had what she needed, evidence that corruption ran straight from her general manager to one of the wealthiest families in New York. And as she disappeared through the kitchen doors, she whispered to herself, "You picked the wrong waitress to underestimate." By 8:30, the restaurant was packed. Every table shimmered with glassware and conversation. The hum of laughter disguised the storm brewing under the Orient's flawless surface. Naomi moved gracefully between tables, her eyes scanning the room like a tactician. She'd confirmed her worst suspicion. Alan wasn't just a bad manager. He was compromised. Madison Vander wasn't a difficult customer. She was a ticking scandal. Naomi needed proof, but the night wasn't done tightening its noose. Jessica, the senior waitress, rushed to Naomi's side near the bar, her face pale. "Heads up," she whispered. "Critic at table 9. Naomi blinked. Tonight? Jessica nodded. From the Manhattan Post. He booked under a fake name. Alan doesn't know yet. Naomi's stomach dropped. The last thing she needed was the city's toughest food critic witnessing this chaos. Keep it quiet, Naomi said softly. If Alan finds out, he'll trip over himself trying to impress the wrong person. Too late. Alan was already making his way across the floor, smoothing his tie like a man walking into a press conference. Naomi's jaw tightened. Of course he noticed. Alan stopped beside Jessica. Who's the guest at 9? Jessica hesitated. A Mr. Preston, solo diner. Alan's grin was shark-like. Tell the kitchen to double-check every plate. No mistakes tonight. And keep Sophie away from that table. She's clumsy enough already. Naomi said nothing, though her blood simmered. Meanwhile, Madison's laughter sliced through the air. Alan, she called, crooking a finger. We've been waiting 20 minutes for our entrees. Do I have to call Robert and tell him how slow you are? Alan hurried over, his fake charm snapping back into place. I'll check right away, Mrs. Vander. As he scurried off, Madison leaned toward Naomi, her voice honeyed with venom. Sweetheart, maybe if you smiled more, you'd move faster. Do they not teach that at your, what do you call it, waitress school? Naomi looked up slowly. We learn by example, ma'am. Madison blinked, momentarily caught off guard by the subtle defiance. Her friends giggled nervously, sensing danger. Before Madison could reply, a crash erupted from the kitchen, the sharp clatter of a dropped tray, followed by muffled swearing. Alan stormed through the swinging doors like an angry warden. Unacceptable. Who dropped that? Naomi stepped closer to Jessica. He's losing it, Jessica whispered. He's been on edge all week. Rumor is corporate's been questioning the expense reports. He's terrified. Good, Naomi murmured. He should be. When Alan re-emerged, red-faced, he spotted Naomi clearing plates near Madison's booth. Sophie, he barked. Table 4's wine list is wrong. Go fix it. Naomi turned, calm as ever. Mr. Hughes, table 4 ordered cocktails, not wine. Alan's nostrils flared. Are you correcting me? Madison grinned, feeding off the chaos. You really should know your place, dear. The words hung in the air, sharp and cruel. Naomi met Madison's eyes for one long, still moment. Her smile was faint, chilling. I do, she said softly. Do you? The crowd nearby fell quiet. Madison's smirk wavered for the first time. Naomi turned away, her heart steady. She wasn't angry, not yet. She was patient. And patience, she knew, was the sharpest weapon of all. Naomi slipped into the corner of the bar, next to Liam, the young busboy. The kid was barely 20, bright-eyed, hard-working and terrified of Alan. Liam, Naomi said quietly, do the security cameras cover this side of the dining room? He nodded. Yeah, all of it. But the feed goes straight to Mr. Hughes's office. Why? Naomi smiled faintly. Because I need to make sure they're still recording. Liam frowned, then leaned closer. They are, but I think he turns some of them off during VIP nights. Said it helps guests feel comfortable. Naomi's stomach tightened. Right. Comfortable. Translation, no evidence. She looked across the room. Madison's table glowed under the chandelier. The queen was holding court. Blissfully unaware the kingdom she thought she ruled was being mapped for demolition. Naomi pulled her phone from her apron pocket and subtly opened the hidden voice recorder app she'd installed before starting her undercover shifts. She set the device under the counter, angled toward the dining floor. Then she whispered to Liam, if you see Alan go near his office tonight, tell me. Liam nodded, eyes wide. Yes, ma'am. Moments later, Jessica approached, her face tense. Naomi, sorry, Sophie. Alan just told the kitchen to delay Madison's entrees until Table 9's dishes are ready. Says it's strategy. Naomi frowned. Table 9? That's the critic, Jessica nodded. Exactly. He's timing the dishes to come out at once. He's hoping the critic sees Madison and thinks we're catering to socialites. It's ridiculous, Naomi exhaled slowly. It's sabotage. More like self-destruction, Jessica muttered. He's been deleting camera logs all week. I saw him with a USB drive. Naomi's eyes sharpened. Where? In his office drawer. Top right. Perfect. The puzzle was aligning itself. Meanwhile, Madison snapped her fingers. Waitress. Naomi walked over, her posture calm, her voice even. Yes, ma'am. Madison pointed at her half-empty glass. Top it up. You've been staring at me all night like you've never seen class before. Does this restaurant even train you people? Naomi smiled faintly, unbothered. Every day, ma'am. Madison rolled her eyes. Well, it's not working. She turned to her friends. Honestly, the service in this city. Her words were cut off by a low, distinct click. She glanced around. What was that? Naomi tilted her head, the slightest smile touching her lips. Probably just the sound of someone being recorded. Madison frowned, confused. But by the time she turned back, Naomi was already gone. Walking toward the back corridor, the kitchen doors burst open with a clang. Alan Hughes stormed through, his face crimson, tie loose, sweat dotting his temple. Every step he took screamed panic. Who touched my office? He barked. The staff froze mid-motion. Jessica exchanged a quick glance with Naomi, who was calmly polishing a tray of glasses. No one's been in your office, Mr. Hughes, Jessica said carefully. Liar, he hissed. Someone tampered with the security feed. Half the files are missing. Naomi kept her expression blank. So, he found out someone turned the cameras back on. Good. The recordings were uploading automatically to the cloud she'd quietly linked from the manager's network. Alan spun toward her suddenly. You, Sophie, you've been sneaking around all night. What did you do? Naomi blinked innocently. Refilled water, Mr. Hughes, unless that's a crime now. A few waiters smothered laughs behind their hands. The tension cracked just slightly, enough to humiliate him further. Alan's jaw tightened. One more word and you're out. Do you understand? Naomi tilted her head. Crystal. Alan turned on his heel and disappeared back into his office, slamming the door. Jessica whispered, What's he hiding? Naomi didn't answer. She already knew. Alan's desperation wasn't about missing files. It was about exposure. Somewhere in those deleted feeds was evidence of everything he and Madison had been hiding. Back in the dining room, Madison Vander's patience had worn thin. She was snapping her fingers again, louder this time. Hello, I'm starving. What is this, a soup kitchen? Naomi approached calmly, the image of composure. Apologies for the delay, ma'am. The kitchen had to remake your order to meet your standards, Madison sneered. Then it's about time someone did something right in this dump. She gestured around. You know, I've eaten at real restaurants in Paris. This place feels like a pretender trying too hard. A hush spread through the nearby tables. People were listening. Naomi felt every eye shift toward them, including one from table 9. The critic had paused mid-bite, notebook open, pen hovering. Perfect. Madison leaned back dramatically. And this one, she continued, pointing at Naomi, she's the perfect example of what's wrong here. No class, no training. Probably lives in some shared apartment in Queens. A few patrons gasped. Naomi smiled, faintly but unmistakably. I live exactly where I need to be, ma'am. Madison scoffed. I doubt that. At that moment, Alan reappeared, sweating, breathless. Mrs. Vander, your meal is... He stopped. The critic was staring at him, pen poised. The silence was thick. Is there a problem here? The critic asked coolly. I couldn't help but overhear. Madison's face went pale. Alan stumbled over his words. No, sir. Everything's fine, just a misunderstanding. The critic looked from Naomi to Madison, then to Alan. I see. He wrote something down, slowly, deliberately. Naomi's eyes met his for a fleeting moment. He gave her a slight nod, quiet recognition that he'd seen everything. Alan felt it too. His world was unraveling. He rushed back toward his office, muttering to himself, unaware that Naomi had already set one more trap in place, the USB Jessica mentioned earlier. Because once Alan tried to delete it, the backup Naomi created would go live, and this time, his secrets wouldn't vanish quietly. They'd explode in public. Alan slammed his office door shut and collapsed into his chair. His hands trembled as he yanked open the drawer, the one that held the silver USB drive. It was gone. Where is it? He hissed, tossing papers aside. Panic clawed up his throat. He turned to his monitor, opened the security system, and froze. Every feed from tonight had been reactivated. The red recording lights blinked across the screen. They were live and uploading. A chill ran through him. He clicked wildly, trying to erase the footage. Instead, a message appeared. File backup in progress. Do not interrupt. Then the monitor flickered, and Naomi Bennett's face appeared. Not live. Recorded, calm, steady, in this very office. If you're seeing this, her voice said, you've already tried to erase company data. Every file, every expense, every deleted feed, all mirrored to my server. I built the Orient on honesty, Alan. Tonight, you'll finally be honest, whether you want to be or not. The screen went black. Alan's blood ran cold. Sophie was Naomi Bennett. Out in the dining room, Madison Vander was still performing, sending back food, belittling staff, sipping wine she'd never pay for. Then the restaurant's wall screen flickered. The usual skyline feed vanished. Gasps rippled. Security footage appeared. Madison insulting the hostess, Alan mocking his staff, and their whispered deal by the bar. Change the invoices, Madison's voice purred. It's what you're good at. Phones lifted. Murmurs filled the air. Madison's mask shattered. Alan, do something. He stumbled forward, but Naomi stepped from behind the bar, holding up the missing USB. Looking for this? Alan froze. Madison went silent. Ladies and gentlemen, Naomi said clearly, you deserve to know the truth. What you just heard isn't fiction. It's how this restaurant has been run, through greed and deceit. Alan tried to speak, but Naomi lifted a hand. Not tonight. Madison rose, furious. You can't. I can, Naomi said softly. And I will. Behind her, CEO Marcus Thorne entered with two suited men. The crowd parted. Alan's shoulders sagged. It was over. Moments later, the doors opened again. Robert Vander strode in. His icy stare silenced the room. Madison, he said, voice sharp as glass. What have you done this time? Naomi met his eyes. Mr. Vander, check your corporate accounts. You'll find your wife and my former manager have been very busy. Madison's color drained. She's lying. Stop, Robert said. He turned to Naomi. Miss Bennett, I'll make this right. You don't need to, Naomi replied. It already is. Marcus handed Alan an envelope. You're terminated. Effective immediately. Alan's plea died in his throat as security escorted him away. Madison tried to follow, but Robert stopped her cold. She fled the restaurant in tears, her heels echoing against marble. When silence returned, Naomi exhaled. Let's clean this up, she told her staff. Then we start again, properly. By midnight, the Orient was calm. Naomi wiped the last table herself. If I can't clear one, I shouldn't own one, she said with a tired smile. Jessica's eyes filled. We just needed someone to see us. I see you, Naomi said gently. Bonuses for everyone, and Jessica, you're the new manager. By morning, the Orient filled headlines. Waitress exposes elites, revealed as owner. Marcus grinned. You're viral, Naomi smiled faintly. Then let's give them something worth remembering. From now on, we serve people, not power. She turned out the lights and looked back at her creation, her proof that true class isn't worn or spoken. It's lived, one act of respect at a time.